Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast. Today we are joined once again by our friend Ian, who we had on the show about 10 months ago, I believe, when he was doing around 150K a month in revenue with Wholesale. Now he's doing about double that. So we're going to dive into traveling, being a digital nomad, and growing a wholesale business. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Sweet. So we obviously did the first episode where we really dove deep in your story. A lot of new viewers since then. So you want to give us the couple-minute version of your entire thing, and then we'll dive deep into all the stuff we'd love to talk about.
Yeah, sure. How far back do you want me to go? Like, you want me to start from the very beginning?
Start of Amazon. Start of it, because that's what the people care about. Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. Well, because like there was like the small window of like we started Facebook Marketplace to eBay cameras for like a couple months, and that's how we got started with like the reselling game. But anyway, like we figured out that reselling worked through doing cameras. And then like we took this would have been then December 2019. So we got lucky in terms of timing, both in terms of like starting in Q4, which I'm sure you guys have talked about a ton before, is like the best possible time you could start reselling. And then just being pre-COVID as well. So we started doing OA Q4 2019. Again, kind of just got like the proof of concept that it works. And then a few months later, we kept going into Q1. And then like a really weird thing happened with us that I haven't heard happen to too many people, but we got like hit with back-to-back suspensions in Q1 2020. And as we were trying to like work through that, there was like a lot of, I don't know, stress and tension around it. And we were trying to figure out what was wrong and how to move forward. And a few people told us, especially at that time, like years ago, you couldn't use like retail receipts to get ungated for stuff like that. It's got a lot more lenient now. They were a lot stricter in terms of accepting things when they ask about authenticity. So at that time, people told us like an easier way to get around that is to use wholesale invoices and to go the wholesale route. So we got pushed into wholesale probably earlier than we would have.
By mistake.
Yeah. So probably like we transitioned fully into wholesale by like March, April 2020.
And this is mid-COVID, right? Is that 2020?
That was at the very beginning of COVID. Yeah. And like got into wholesale and it just hit from there. And we've been like 90+% wholesale since then. So three years we've been fully wholesale.
So to kind of dig into the wholesale piece, right? We'll kind of approach it from two different perspectives, building up in the beginning and then ultimately the delta between when we talked to you last and now obviously your business doubling. And so to get to that first 6 figures in wholesale, what does that entail? What's the current action plan? If you're just starting out probably from OA to get that first 6-figure mark in wholesale.
Yeah, and like the thing is like if you do OA, like you learn all the fundamentals. Like the only variable at that point is how you get leads. But then it's like every time you look at a product page, whether it's for wholesale or OA, it's the exact same process, right? You learn how to read keep it graphs, you learn how to make buying decisions, whatever. To get the first 6 figures in wholesale is purely a numbers game. Like I'm sure there have been so many people that have come on here and talk about. You literally just got to pick up the phone and hit the emails hard, just make a list of distributors and start going through it. And then like the difficult piece of wholesale is getting probably from like 100 to 200 to 300 or 4 or whatever it is. Like, but the first 100K is literally just pick up the phone and get through all the no's and then start getting through the catalogs and price lists that come your way.
And so keeping on that transition from OA to wholesale, a lot of people kind of have a misconception in terms of, wholesale is going to be lower ROI, lower margins, higher volume. Is that necessarily the case?
It is for us. It doesn't have to be. I know that there are people that do it other ways, especially people who want to leverage prep centers. Like you're going to have a higher ASP to kind of justify that. But yeah, we play a volume game. We play volume.
A lot of small and light then, right?
Hammer it. Yeah. That piece of my story hasn't changed. I know we talked about it when we talked last year. And yeah, we hammer small and light, especially with the recent changes. Like they've upped it twice since we've talked. And like other FBA fees have gone up, or like the changes that they made that were supposed to be temporary became permanent, and those didn't impact small and light. So it's become like bread and butter.
Cool. Now, do you do any brands or is it completely distribution, and why?
Yeah, we're fully distributor. And that's not like, it's not ideal, to be honest with you. It's just what has worked for us. And we have like a really consistent basis of like, between 7 and 10 distributors that we just consistently hit up, and like brands hopefully will become a piece of the strategy more as we move forward. But it's just what's worked, and it's consistent, and yeah, that's it.
So our buddy KT, he had a really interesting thread. I think it was like yesterday or something. I saw it. He was talking about how like it really isn't that much work to get a couple of good distributors, because like a normal OA seller will spend a couple hours a day, 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day sourcing products like 5 days a week, whatever. If
Yep.
you spent 5 hours a day for a week cold calling distributors, you would have something pretty quick. I thought that was a really good point.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Well, but the biggest piece of the puzzle, especially as you start to scale wholesale, is not getting accounts or getting yeses. Like that becomes pretty cookie cutter. Like it's really not that difficult. But it's getting through the catalogs and putting POs together, and building teams and processes around that is the only real way to scale it, in my opinion. That's the variable, is getting through catalogs, because a lot of it's just junk. The vast majority of it's junk.
And so in terms of, qualifying those distributors up front, I imagine that's going to be a big efficiency piece. So what are some of the things that you're looking for up front that say, okay, maybe this is going to be potential here with the distributor, or maybe this is a skip?
Yeah, it's funny because like some of our best distributors, like if you were to look at their websites, they're like 25-year-old websites or whatever, right? But especially if you like, once you get a few good accounts and you know what it feels like to deal with those good accounts, you start to see like patterns of what kind of like formats are their catalogs and what's the communication look like. Do they have like an accounts receivable and payments department? Like, is the structure of the business like solid and sound, or is this just like a closeout shop that's going to get 1 or 2 deals every week and blast them out, which is fine. Like that works for a lot of people. It's just not our particular style. So like we look for like companies that have like good infrastructure, consistent catalogs, and good formats, like good communication, like probably separate departments within the shop, probably like a sizable amount of employees, and they've been in business for a long time. Most of these guys, if they're good and big, they've been in business for a while.
Sure. And then kind of switching back to more so your story side of things again. So I don't know why I forgot you didn't start that long ago.
Yeah, around the same time as you guys, right? Like we're all in the same class.
Yeah.
Right around the beginning of COVID. Yep.
I remember you and I followed each other. It was either spring or summer of 21. So like that was only about a year and a half in for you. And that was really new for me. Like right around there was when I first started doing. Oh, wait, was the motivation behind flipping stuff? I hate my job and want to change it. I want to try something. I like it. Like which
That was
one?
exactly it.
Which one was where
It
like
was like,
I had like a corporate job though, right?
yeah.
no, I did. I had 2.
Yeah.
I had 2. But I was one of those people that like studied entrepreneurship or whatever in college, and I knew that like I
So
knew that I wanted to do it. It was completely worthless. Like but yeah, then I worked for Target for a couple years after school, and then like the priority became like I studied abroad in school, and like I knew right then like I wanted to live and work abroad. And then there came a time with Target where I wanted to do something remote because I really wanted to travel. This was 2017, so like remote stuff hadn't really hit then yet. So when I asked them to do that, they like laughed me out of the room, and so I quit. And I moved to China to teach English because, like, again, the priority was 100%.
That part I remember. That part I
100%
remember.
just living abroad was the priority at that time. Like I was going to sacrifice
So-
everything.
Yeah, so you had a lifestyle goal, which was, and then you build the business around it. Yeah, I think I'm kind of the opposite, at least right now. Stuff, and I assumed that was like, was that spurred from reading the 4-Hour Work Week? I assume, or is that part of it?
Well, it plays a piece for sure. Like that, it's like my Bible, you know. But first was like studying abroad, and then like literally my first week back at school after I came back, I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and I was like, oh, this is the path.
Sure. Yeah, because our friend Soros, I was listening to a podcast he was on. He was talking about how he actually was able to get a remote work agreement, I believe he said. Which was
you can.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, exactly. And like I believe he referenced the book, but everyone reading this, go listen to this because it shows you that there's a lot of, or go read that book. Basically, it's pretty.
Oh yeah.
Right next.
And listen to that interview. That interview was pretty good. I listened to that too.
Yeah. So there's Fast Track FBA, another form of VVV with the All-Star Squad, and everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And then how was ASD last month, close to 2 months ago, I guess, or a month and a half ago at this point?
It was solid. I missed you guys out there. I got to spend
August. I know. It's gonna be a party in August.
Yeah. It was good, but to be honest, like we went mostly just to like network and hang and go to like the like we're in Eric and Sebastian's group, and to go to those events and spend time with them.
Oh yeah.
Like in terms of the volume of our business, especially in terms of units, currently we're like close to capacity. So we didn't really go with the first time we went to ASD was August of last year. And then it was like, all right, let's rack up some new distributors and see if we can do some business here. This time was just much more around like networking and spending time with other sellers. Don't get me wrong, I'm still opening accounts and like looking at new stuff, but it wasn't necessarily a priority.
Did you
And
guys
so
hang
you
out
mentioned
last
that
time?
you're
Did you
what's
guys
that?
hang
Yeah,
out? Yeah, oh, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember though. Yeah, cool.
That's the first time that Ian had a deep eddies in water.
Eddie,
Oh, that's so terrible, man.
Max capacity. And so what is that a reference to? Is that a prep center thing, capital thing? What workflow is
no
that you're
prep. So
working
we don't use prep center. We do all of our prep in house. And yeah, and both like so. This is not like necessarily beginner wholesale stuff, but as you start to like, if you were to ask, and I would imagine that you would at some point, what changed from the last time
Yep.
we spoke? How do you get from 100 or 125 or 150 to 250, 300 and above? Like for us, the answer was and is hiring good people and building and managing good teams and having good systems and processes. So both in terms of so we have like an analyst team. Most people would say like VAs, we call them analysts. Our analyst team and our buying team and our prep team are currently like at capacity. The biggest bottleneck is prep, because we have kind of like a weird situation where we don't necessarily want to like get into a new warehouse or anything. Not currently in this state of things, mostly because like there are a lot of ways to expand the business in other ways that might not require additional physical space, because it just opens up. I mean, you guys know about this. You opened a warehouse before. It just opens a whole can of worms. Yeah. It opens a whole can of worms that we don't necessarily want to deal with right this moment. So yeah, we're at capacity in terms of the number of units that we can prep, more or less.
All right, raise the ASP and prep center then.
That's
I
yeah.
feel like that's
The
the
easy
way
answer
forward,
is ASP. Yeah, ASP.
Yeah, because for anyone listening, basically ASP means average sale price. So like if your average sale price is $12, it's really hard to pay a prep center 75 cents or a dollar.
No
but
chance.
if it's
Yeah.
25
chance.
and you start doing a lot of bundles or whatever, or electronics, more expensive items, it's a lot easier.
On the flip side of that, one of the good things, and I think why we found a little bit of success with this, and something I like about working in the lower ASP at volume, is it automatically disqualifies a lot of sellers. So anyone who's using prep centers, you pretty much aren't going to be able to compete with us. So it removes an entire segment of sellers from competing with us. So if you're competing with us, it likely means that you have your own warehouse and that you've probably been doing this and you probably know what you're doing. So with these items, there's a lower chance of like people just coming in tanking the price. Like a lot of stuff that happens in OA, or like items that get on sale, or like beginner kind of stuff, you naturally kind of avoid it if you can work in the lower
Man,
ASP.
that's a good point. I don't think I've ever heard someone kind of mention it in that light. That's pretty cool. Because I mean, we talk about moats all the time with OA and sort of the things that we talk about, but that sort of moat is kind of cool. It's like a creative way to think about it. And the other side of what you guys are doing is naturally you probably get better pricing with some of the suppliers, having the longer term relationship.
For sure. Like the core of the suppliers that we've worked with, it's like we found them pretty early. So like it's been multiple years now, and yeah, like people probably talk about this all the time, but like the relationships really do matter. It really matters. Yes, and being able to do volume, like them knowing that you want to place big orders. So one other tip for anyone like starting wholesale is like you're going to get a catalog, and the prices probably aren't going to be great. So you can't just order at full price what you would order. So the approach that we do is we look at, well, what would happen if we get a 10-15% discount, and I'll send a proposed order kind of a thing. Just being like, hey, just so you know, we want to spend as much as we can with you guys. If we could get these prices on these things, we would be happy to order. Or you could ask like, what kind of volume would I need to do to get close to this price on these orders?
That's our
like
approach. Yeah.
Intent, just to show the intent of like, hey, just so you know, I'm willing to spend a lot more money. I just need to work with you on the pricing.
Yeah, that's a good point on the relationship side of things. I feel like business success really just comes down to knowing the right people, for an extended period of doing business.
Time.
Yeah. Because like
Time of the game,
start
yeah.
trusting people more, and then the longer you're in it, the more edges you start seeing, and stuff. And then so the title of the solo episode we did was like something along the lines of like digital nomad travel, shit like that. Basically, what have you been up to the past year as far as travel wise?
When we spoke, Garrett and I were just talking about this before you hopped on. I was in Mexico.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Guadalajara, right? Yeah, or Puerto Vallarta, something like that.
in that one, yep, yep. And then I did go back to Guadalajara, but then late last year I went back to Medellin, where I lived for like a period before Mexico. Um, and then I came, so I spent 3 months down there, and then like Garrett and I just had this conversation again, but this is the first time I've lived in the States anywhere other than like Indianapolis in the last 5 years. I'm in Austin right now. So I came back to like see how Austin feels and if it might be a good spot for longer. And the answer is yes. I think it could definitely be a spot for the future. But on Friday, I'm heading back down to Columbia.
Mainly because the Sunday morning soccer sessions and
Yeah, that's all I see on your
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps a lot for sure. That and
what are those kicks that Adidas, right? The black ones?
yeah. Just the all black Pedders.
Yeah, those
So
are sweet.
yeah, where like have you ever been able to meet any Amazon sellers on the road at all?
Have I ever been able to meet any? Yeah, but no wholesale sellers. I've met like maybe one or two OA guys. I've met a merch guy. I traveled with a merch guy for a while.
Interesting.
But yeah, not many. It's pretty rare. It's pretty
Yeah,
rare.
because like there's a lot, and just in general, people have a lot of limiting beliefs around that stuff basically too. For the like, what's the ideal location if someone wants to party, if they want to go monk mode and work, like where should people be looking to travel?
I mean, like I only base it off my own experience, but like
Well, of course, yeah, that's all you can do, yeah.
it depends if you want to be close to a US time zone.
Which I would say yes, business wise.
Big time, yeah, big time.
Yeah, so if you got like a team or if you want to like be contacting wholesalers or whatever, like man, we are so lucky to be as close as we are to Mexico and Colombia. Like I've spent the last 3 years straight down there, like for a reason. You can't go wrong in either of those places. But I mean, all of Latin America is super accessible considering the time zone. If time zone's not an issue for you, I was talking to Billy about this the other day. If time zone's not an issue for you, I would get on a flight to Southeast Asia as fast as humanly possible.
Bali, yeah. What's the time zone in Bali? It's like 9 hours.
Yeah, you're like 12 or 13 hours behind or ahead. Sorry, ahead. But it's an issue.
Time zone's such a big thing though. Because like
in
terms of how Miles and I work, like we conversate all the time, and we talk to Billy a bunch too,
like,
right?
Basically anything from 8 a.m. to like I'd say like 1-ish in the morning is like fair game.
Yeah, you're on. Yeah.
So it get a little messy, basically like that. What do you think are the main like limiting beliefs that like actually aren't true about just travel, remote work in general, whether that be like keeping a job going remote, running a business, time zone, stuff like that? Because I think a lot of people clearly were interested in that off the last episode, so I'd love to we can dig more deep into that.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had this conversation with so many people here in Austin since I've been here, and I don't know. It's like I think it's just like a fear thing. I don't know what it is, but
Everything
the nice
is
thing is for anyone who is interested in this, it's never been easier than it is currently right this moment. Like when I left years ago, like I literally had to quit my job to go do this because I couldn't find another way. Now, and Airbnb wasn't near as developed. Short-term rental market in general wasn't near as developed as it is now. The digital nomad communities in like big cities, it didn't exist like years ago, at least not even remotely close to the scale that it does now. So like right now, what I would tell anyone who's interested in this is don't quit or do anything. Just go try for a month. Like keep your apartment, don't put anything in storage, don't do anything crazy. Just go to Mexico City or Medellin for a month if that's your thing, or go find a beach in Mexico for a month. Go find like a co-living space or something. You automatically are going to meet people and get in a community. Like just go try it for a month and you'll know pretty much right away if it's going to be your thing or not. But it's so easy to try and get a taste for now.
But even still, like I think the big misconception is you need to like build this big business to travel, right? There's so much remote work.
It's so much cheaper to do. Like
that's the thing. Yeah, you're gonna save a lot of money by dude. I've spent more money this month in Austin than like the last 3 months combined in Colombia. It's so expensive to live in the States. It's crazy.
We'll talk through how you actually found the place that you're in now, as we were kind of talking offline about it.
Here in Austin?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I didn't really know anyone in Austin, and I wanted to like come and not be by myself. And I needed something short term furnished kind of a deal because I knew I was going to leave. Pretty much the same as everywhere. Like I've done a lot of co-living in the past in Mexico and Colombia and other places. And it's such a good way to like meet people. It's a whole different experience. I told Billy the same thing. Like Billy's traveling right now. I've been trying to tell him like go into like hostels and co-living areas, especially when you're young. Dude, there's
Billy's a
no
little bit different personality though.
Like
He's
hanging
he
out with
needs his
people
own
from
space.
Twitter and shit. Yeah.
But like
Billy needs his own space.
I get that. I get that. But man, there's no better way to like meet people and make real friends and connections and stuff. And anyway, so I knew that was the way to do it before. So I tried to find something similar in Austin. That whole like scene and idea hasn't really got here as much, at least not that I've found in the States. But there just so happened to be a guy here in Austin, like right in the city, which is even more rare. He bought 5 houses like here on one street and rents them out room by room, month by month, and like has events and everything between the houses or whatever. So it was it was just like that. Like I'm stepping into a community. So right now I share a house with like 4 other people, month to month, short term, furnished, super fair price. Accommodation in Austin is crazy expensive. So yeah, ticked all the boxes. And there's tons of opportunities like that no matter where you go.
Sure. And then what's the biggest benefit of living abroad? Is it weather, food, cost of living? What are we talking?
Benefit?
Yeah.
I mean, dude,
Seeing the world, right?
I mean, it's just interesting. It's like you can live, I mean, more or less anywhere in the States, and it's gonna be a pretty similar experience. And it's like no matter what, if you do the same thing for 20 or 25 or 30 years or however long it is, I mean, you've seen it and you've done it. But like, I mean, living in certain places, especially like in Asia in particular, man, it's like stepping into a different world. Like it's a mind opening thing. Not to be like all cliche and weird about that shit, but like man, you get a peek into a totally different experience. And I find a hard, like it's hard to say that that's going to be a bad thing for you long term.
That's how I feel about business, dude. Is like, like even if it's not successful, like just having stuff you can work on that you own upside in or whatever, even if it's a side, like it's so beneficial for people. And there's definitely the deathbed conversation of like, would I rather die having like a shitload of money and not having done a lot of, or at least tried a lot of what I imagine trying, or like 60 to 80% of the money and have tried, and it's like not even close. You choose the second one, most people would, and that's an interesting thing that I feel like I haven't lived in alignment.
I was gonna say, yeah, you say that, but you haven't really.
Well, exactly. That's the thing, right? That's the thing, though. But then there's the argument of like, okay, the compound interest, get the money part done now. It's an interesting thing there.
I was so proud of Miles. We obviously the Super Bowl is a big thing back here, right? And so Miles came out. We went to we went to this bar and around because the Philly was in it, right? And so we went to this bar outside of Philly, and Miles came out and he had a great time. It was good to see him out.
All right, and then just going off of our last episode, like you started doing, I don't know if you're still doing it, but you got a little bit more serious about like the Instagram stuff. At least the past couple months after with that. And I assume you probably picked up some pretty nice connects from that.
Yeah, more than anything, man. Like, yeah, I had a lot of really good like one-on-one conversations with people, like several of whom I'm still in touch with now.
That's where the value is. It's not in the one-on-one, but you do the like you optimize to meet the 1 to 5 people that that you share everything with. At least that's the way I think most people should do it.
Agreed. So yeah, it wasn't like ever supposed to be like I'm trying to build like a big audience or anything. Like it was more like I just wanted to connect with more Amazon sellers after I've been talking to you guys. Like it was so cool to be able to do that, and I did it. And like you guys saw how I did it. Like I posted account.
Yep.
Yeah, do it again. Do it again.
I will consider it. I'm crazy behind right now with my entire life. It feels like.
All right. Well, then, there'll come a time. You gotta get back down to Colombia and go monk mode or something, I guess.
Yeah. I need to. It's tough down there though.
Interesting.
So that's not the place to go monk mode.
What's up? Oh, monk mode.
Not the place.
As we start to wrap up as promised, right? Getting to that 100,000 to 250, 300. what's that entail? Because I'm assuming it's going to be a different sort of growth than that first couple onboarding, like the first 20, 30 distributors.
Yeah, like I mean, it probably looks different for different people, but 100% the key for us was building a team and building good processes and executing them every day. So we hired really, really good analysts. Um, and in general, man, like I would feel bad if I didn't say this at some point in this interview. Um, I got really lucky from the beginning. So like you guys are interviewing me, but it's not just me, right? And I mentioned this in the prior interview before, but I started this with my mom, who's my partner, and she's a rock star. So like, but the moral of the story is always just going to be, you need to find good people and build good things around them. And you can do that a lot of ways. The nice thing about where we are with the scalability of the internet and the maturity of Amazon at this point is we have access to such highly skilled people all over the world you can hire to do all kinds of things. Like you've got a guy that edits your podcast for you. But you can hire people to do a lot of different pieces of the business. And like, I don't know, if you want to scale something and really build something that works without you, you have to be able to hire and manage people and build processes around, which is a very different skill than finding good products on Amazon.
Oh my God. Yeah. Cause you start doing this cause you're a hustler, you're independent, you want to not have to rely on other people and everything. I was like having people help me clear up my warehouse, and just insane that with money, like you can bend the world.
Yeah.
Even on
And
a
like,
small scale.
another thing about this too, if like people want to think about it this way, is like I think most of us, like most of the people that are in this circle, in this community, it's like Amazon is just the current channel that we're using.
Completely
Right?
agree.
But the whole thing is that we're trying to play the game, and we're going to play it forever. At least I will. And really, if you want to play any game at a high level in terms of like, I don't know, business stuff or whatever, the real variable long term is going to be your ability to build and manage teams and build processes. Like that is ultimately the variable. The channel and whatever the offer, whatever you're selling can change. You can always switch that out anytime. But building and managing teams, that will never go away.
Yeah.
And so
You got it.
what's next for you, right? Obviously, Amazon's the current structure now. Is there something that you're looking at, you have sights on in terms of that next move for you?
I have ideas. And the problem is there's like too many opportunities, and I get like wrapped up trying to figure out which one it's going to be. I still think there is like, there's a lot of room to go in Amazon, and like, I don't know, like the returns and stuff, like the amount of cash flow that's out there is like, man, it's very hard to like look away from. But not to dodge the question. So to tell you the things that are on my mind, longer term, a year, 2, 5, 10 down the road, two things really come to my mind. One, real estate has always been an interesting thing, but for me, the more interesting thing, do you guys follow Cody Sanchez?
Oh yeah.
I really like her thing of buying boring businesses. That I think it suits me and our business and my family in particular very well. I like everything about it. Like you get to keep small business alive, something that's been around for a long time. You give it an opportunity to continue to go. I think that's cool. Obviously, you own an asset and it produces cash flow. You're essentially building like a small private equity shop. So that is interesting to me.
And that's something, of course, that's going to translate your team building skills, relationship processes. That's going to translate directly.
Exactly. Yes.
I think a relocation service for entrepreneurs would be sick.
Yeah, those exist.
A lot of potential.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying yours. You know that because that exists purely. You could decently productize that.
Sure. And that goes along with the brand that you're building on Instagram, right? I mean, you have thousands of people that know you for what you represent, what you're doing, and you would imagine a subset of those followers are living the same sort of life you are.
Yeah. There's this guy, Grego Gallagher, who does this fitness stuff, and I was listening to him talk about his business and how like he would have to answer all these individual questions, so he just made a quiz people could fill out, and I feel like that'd be a really good angle for like a relocation type business.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
We could like spit out like what countries people should look at or whatever. That
Yeah, and I always
low
think
key
about
be-
it like it's so easy to do, and it's like
Oh yeah.
it's right at your fingertips. But I guess people do pay for stuff. I mean, ultimately, you're
Oh,
paying
big
for
time. Yeah.
again.
Well, if
Yeah,
you have money, yeah, it'd be productized to entrepreneurs, so people with money and not
yeah,
time. You know,
yeah.
that just want those answers and stuff. What's the biggest thing that's changed since we last spoke? Whether that be getting better at a certain thing, saying no to a certain thing, focusing on XYZ product type.
Nah, it's 100% the team. I mean, it's not even like it's the first, second, and third answer. It's not even remotely close. Like our team is in such a better place, both in terms of how we execute our workflow, but much more importantly than that, like we had some really key hires come into our team, and the people who were already within our team are performing way better. Like
And
the team is so much better.
is that better training, more freedom, do you think? Better culture?
Um, yeah, I tightened up a few things on processes. That was a small piece, but the big piece was hiring the right people and putting them in the right place. Like we got very lucky to just find like really good people.
You know, those virtual assistants or
Both and prep.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Do you have like a Slack channel for the whole squad, or how does
Yeah.
that work? Dude, I
Yeah, we
think it's so fucking sick to have a Slack channel of like VAs hyping up each other and everything around
that's,
source.
I mean, that's probably how Source has it set up, I would imagine.
Yeah. Like how people with like sales teams, they'll have like rituals when someone closes something, or I don't know. That'd be
Yeah.
sick. Like people talk about different sales and stuff. Cause like that's essentially how like our friend group is. But
Yeah.
with like VAs, I think would be really intriguing as well. So
Yep.
you're gonna head back down to Columbia, you think, pretty soon?
Yeah, on Friday I go.
Oh wow. So that's the 31st then, right? Yeah.
Yep. End of the month.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna, because I'm headed down obviously to Austin in 2 weeks. So I thought
I
Oh,
there was
wish I
gonna be
would have
some
caught
like
you.
that.
damn, that sucks. Okay, you're running a marathon down there, right?
Yep.
All right, everyone wish Garrett good luck on the marathon
Yes, sir.
in the DMs. Cool. All right, and then same Instagram as always, Ian Klotz, Klotz, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll hopefully get the Calendly link up at some point. But follow Ian. Go check out the first episode we did. We also did that ASD recap one.
Yep,
Well.
third time around. Let's go.
Yeah, are you planning on ASD in August as well?
I think that'll be a pretty constant thing for us.
Do it. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah,
It's just so much
for, like,
fun.
more for the fun side of things and just hanging out, honestly.
I think, and this isn't something that, you know, the viewers necessarily want to hear. I think from a business side, like an actual vendor supplier side, there's definitely diminishing returns as you keep going back and back and back.
I agree with that.
Just because there's so much repetition, but the value, and you kind of pointed out, is just hanging out with the people you like, right? They're hanging
Yeah.
out with the chosen coworkers, right? That we continue to relate with, and there was so much fun in that.
And
Yeah.
internet stuff is really fun. It's a great way to meet people, but there's still nothing like the in-person, man. The in-person hang is way better.
Completely agree. Cool. All right, everyone go follow Ian. Check out Seller Amp if you haven't already. I'm a bust Garrett's ass in the court later today, and we'll see you guys in the next one.